Courtney Block, and welcome back to another edition of the Stories of IUS. I have with me today Mitchell Scott, one of the library's newest faculty members. So I would like you, Mitchell, to just introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you, about the institution maybe that you just came from, and what you do here at the library.
Sure. So yeah, Mitchell Scott. So I've been here, I think 7 days now. So this is very fresh in the job. And my new position is the coordinator of collections and online resources. I'm still learning how to say that. It's a mouthful. And so I'm responsible for like all the library resources in the sense of like managing the budget that pays for those and acquiring them, and then all the technology behind the scenes that like connects you to them, hopefully easily. And sort of all that stuff. So I'm from Kentucky originally. So I got my library science degree from the University of Kentucky. I got a master's in history from U of L. And then I did my undergraduate in Murray State. So I got a lot of higher ed debt in the state of Kentucky. And so this was a move back to, my home state for me, closer to family and all of that. So very excited to be back. But I've been in Wisconsin for the past 11 years. I moved there like 11 years ago to work at UW Green Bay within the University of Wisconsin system, librarian there, and then met my wife there and started a family there. So it was a really good move professionally and personally there. And then I worked all throughout the UW system at various libraries, UW Green Bay, and then UW Milwaukee, so like a bigger R1 institution. And then the last 4 years, I worked at a small private just in De Pere, Wisconsin. It's right outside of Green Bay. It's like the sister city of Green Bay. The Green Bay Packers actually, they have their training camp at St. Norbert every year. So it's like
cool.
one of those places that NFL teams back in the days used to stay when they were doing training camps. And so yeah, I worked there for the past 4 years. Very similar role there. So I'm excited to, do some of the things that I was able to do at St. Norbert here at IUS, and learn the intricacies of a new job and a new system and sort of all that stuff. So.
Nice. Your comments about like St. Norbert and how close it was to Green Bay reminds me that my sisters and I just sent for my dad's like 60th birthday, got him like tickets to a game at Lambeau Field, and he was just like so excited. So I'm not sure if like you enjoyed like being that close to Green Bay, or if you're like into sports at all, or like what was that like?
Yeah, like I wasn't a Packers fan when I moved there, but it's like it's unavoidable. Like it's it's only a city of like 100,000 people, and so the Packers are very much like everywhere and prominent, and so you can't avoid it, right? You become a fan, and so yeah, I'm a fan of Packers, fan of sports, and we lived and everywhere is close to the stadium, kind of in Green Bay. I mean, we didn't live like right next to it, but you're never far from it. In the house we lived at in Green Bay, like the last 4 or 5 years we were there, we could hear the fireworks go off when they scored a touchdown. And so like we'd be watching on the TV, and it's always like a 30-second tape delay, right? And so we would hear the fireworks go off and we knew they scored, and then it would be like 30 seconds before they actually scored on our TV. So it always ruined the suspense, right? So
Yeah.
it's awesome. Like I went to like 4 or 5 Packers games. If you pay taxes in Brown County, which is the county the Packers are in, you get to put your name into a lottery every year, and you could get drawn for Packers tickets. And I got drawn like the past 4 years. So it's
Nice.
awesome. Yeah.
Very cool. So I'm interested also in some of the things that you like to do just beyond your role as a librarian. That's kind of what I love about doing these sessions with people, is that giving them the opportunity to tell a little bit more about their life just beyond academia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, well, I was telling Courtney before she pressed record that we have a 6-year-old, and I feel like my wife and I used to be very interesting before we had children. Now it's, our world revolves around our child. But our hobbies, we like to go camping. We like the outdoors. Wisconsin's a very beautiful state, and so people joke that it was like it's like the state park for Illinois and Chicago. So a lot of people flood up there for the beauty of Wisconsin. So yeah, we spent a lot of time the past 10 years like hiking and camping and enjoying like the scenery of Wisconsin. And we'd like to do that more in Kentucky and southern Indiana as we've gotten to know this place. So I like as far as hobbies, I run. So I'm a runner. And so when I can find time to do that, and I did during COVID, much like everybody's picked up like new hobbies during COVID. And so I did the same thing. And so I think it was like, I think our campus went remote in like March, and then by April, I bought a unicycle to learn to ride. And so I learned to ride a unicycle during COVID. And I started in like the spring in Wisconsin, which was like April, and it's still cold outside. So I was learning in my driveway and like, winter gear. And I got to know like neighbors that I'd never met before, because all of a sudden I was like the guy that's outside on his unicycle trying to learn, falling off of it, because that's how you learn. You fall off and you get back up, you fall off, you get back up. So I learned to ride a unicycle during COVID, and now I have two of them, because if you need multiple unicycles to do different things. Like one is just for like a long distance ride if I want to do that, and one is to do like tricks on if I want to do tricks on a unicycle. And so that's
I had
been
no idea that there's different types of unicycles for like different things.
well, it's all about the wheel size. So like some unicycles have like the small wheel, and so those are the ones that you do like, you can get on, and you can do like you can do like trick mounts, and you can hop on it, and you can jump up on curbs, and you can like jump off of curbs, and you can do all sorts of like, think about like skateboarding. You can do
Okay.
skateboarding stuff on a unicycle. And then the bigger the wheels, as the wheels get bigger, you can do more like street riding, or like, distance riding. And then there's like, those giant wheeled ones that I don't want to like, I don't know who rides those, but but yeah, so it depends on the wheel size. It's all about the
That's
wheel.
cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. I had no idea, but I mean, now that you say that, it makes sense, because I mean, there's different types of bicycles and
Sure.
like skateboards. And I think the only people, like when you said like the giant wheeled like unicycles, I just picture like those old timey like silent films where like the person's on like the giant
Right.
unicycle.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
You have to get up
amazing.
on those somehow. I don't know how that got on. I don't know how you get on one with a giant wheel like that. So yeah.
No idea. But that's interesting, because I feel like everybody, like you sort of like mentioned, developed some sort of additional hobby or skill during the and like we're still in a pandemic. And or maybe people like leaned like more heavily into a skill that they had that they just didn't really have that much time to engage in during the pandemic. And in a way, like if there's any sort of like silver lining that can be taken out of a really, really awful situation, I kind of hate saying it like that, but like I think that it was kind of nice to be able to have like that time for people, to sort of dig into like hobbies or whatever.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I feel like, we often think we're not capable of learning or doing new things. Like depending on how like whatever your age is, you're like, oh, well, I don't do that anymore. I don't learn new things or new hobbies. But like totally, like, you could pick up unicycling, or I feel like everybody was making sourdough bread. Like everybody picked up like, new skills and
Right.
new hobbies during the pandemic. Yeah.
Right. So you mentioned that you enjoy going to parks, and that you're very familiar with Kentucky, your home state. So do you have any like favorite parks or areas of Kentucky that you like to go to?
Oh, that's interesting. Well, so I'm from Western Kentucky, and so I grew up close to Lake Barkley, and so the Lake Barkley, Kentucky Lake, and the land between the lakes. So, and then Murray State, where I went to undergrad, is not far from there. So love spending time there. Around Louisville, I don't know. When I was here, living 10 years ago, I really didn't like, we didn't camp or like hike that much. So, but I'm interested. We've looked into like all the parks that are in like southern Indiana. There look to be some beautiful ones over here around the knobs and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. I haven't learned them since coming back yet. I've only been
Yeah,
back a month and a half, so we're looking forward to exploring and learning more.
right.
Recommend?
Well, I was just thinking that when you were talking about Wisconsin and you mentioned Brown County, like for a second, I almost kind of thought you were talking about Brown County, Indiana, which is very near here. I mean, it's only about maybe 35, 40 minutes from, here. And Little Nashville, and of course, like very close to Bloomington, and our flagship university there. But there are lots of really beautiful parks like around that area. And there's even a trail here, like on campus. Did you know that?
I did. Yeah,
Yeah.
Melanie, our colleague, walked me and showed me the trail. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I haven't been over to take a look at it yet. But that's awesome. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a trail here on campus. There's lots of great parks, like much, much closer than Brown County, like around here. And even like in Louisville, which kind of like surprised me, but because I think of Louisville as just sort of like city. Um, but in like the Louisville metro, there's actually like some really awesome parks.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Louisville itself, like, so I used to live like right next to Cherokee Park before I moved to Wisconsin, and so that's a great park, and I love that park, and
Yeah.
it's got like a huge trail network that I don't think a lot of people know exists there. There's like so many miles of hiking trails that you can do.
Yeah.
And there's always mountain bikes there, so you have to watch out. But there's like it's a beautiful trail network that they have all over Cherokee Park, which is really
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. There's also I love to sometimes also go to Cave Hill Cemetery, which is in Louisville. And maybe that sounds like a little weird, but it's gigantic and it's just really beautiful. It's like a cemetery and an arboretum. So they have like all of these just types of trees from like around the world. And there's always people, like I go there to like walk sometimes. There's lots of other people that you see walking. There's like a beautiful lake. And so like that's another place to check out.
Sure. Yeah.
Um,
I think
yeah.
I did that tour once. It's almost like a map of the stars tour, right? They give you a map and you can like
Yes.
Sanders grave and you can see like who else is buried there? Like Wilson Pickett's in there. I can't remember all the like famous Louisvillians and Kentuckians in there.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, there's a decent amount of folks that are affiliated with like the University of Louisville from like, way back in its history. Um, yeah, I was trying to think. There was like a famous magician,
Mm.
but I can't remember the guy's name, but he has a really cool like memorial where it's like a statue of a magician with like the top hat and everything.
Oh, cool.
um yeah, it's just a beautiful place. And also like your interest in like history, it sort of like combines like that history and love for the outdoors.
Sure. Yeah. Good
Yeah,
idea.
yeah, yeah. So I'm curious, as like the coordinator of collections, what is something that you wish people like understood or knew about like the world of library collections in today's day and age? Because there's so many like stereotypes about libraries, like sort of swirling all the time. And I'm just curious, what is something that you wish people knew or that you want people to know about library collections in today's age?
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people like when you say it, they realize it, but it's never really at the front of their mind about academic libraries. But just the amount of like our budget that's dedicated to electronic resources, and so not like the traditional like physical print library, which we still support and love, but where our money goes and where our usage is and where the majority of our impact is in terms of like students and faculty using our research resources is with the electronic collection. And so, the shift within academic libraries has been, 85, 90% of our budgets are going to these electronic resources, and it's expanded beyond like just like your traditional databases, electronic journals to, electronic books, which we're doing so much in now, and then streaming media, so streaming video that faculty members and students are using in the classroom. So, and I'm sure there's like new formats and new elements that are going to, come to the forefront within like the next, 5 to 10 years. So just the amount of money, time, and effort, I guess, that's dedicated to supporting these electronic resources that have become so important to, what we do at academic libraries.
Right. I think that's a great point. And I think that maybe a lot of people don't understand, or maybe they do, but it's just not talked about, like you said, just the price tag that comes with those electronic resources, and how it, like you said, naturally eats up so much of the budget, and the restrictions that publishers like place and creators of these databases like place on access, rights and digital rights management and all that sort of stuff, which like I wish as librarians we had more control over, but we don't. And sometimes I think that causes some sort of like unknowing frustration on the part of our users.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And, I think we've done better and as academic libraries and making it easier for our users to sort of navigate this world of electronic resources that we have, because it's not easy. I mean, I think that's
Right.
one thing we need to acknowledge is like, just because like librarians sort of understand how to like find materials and get to these things rather quickly or efficiently, it's not, it's often not easy for our users to do that, just because it's a complicated network of like search boxes and
Right.
resource records and links and clicks, and it takes 4 clicks to get to a PDF sometimes. So I think it's, it's a complicated web sometimes.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, and I think as far as like the cost of these things, I think, it's really interesting as libraries think about ways to sort of undo that, and how to sort of reposition or reallocate money to do different things within our budget and to have an impact on campus. I mean, electronic journals are the biggest culprit there in the sense of if we spend like, if 90% of our budget is spent on electronic materials, then like half of the budget is going toward electronic journals, right? Or more than half. And it's largely going into the pocket of like 3 or 4 publishers, right? All of us. So all of academic libraries paying 3 or 4 publishers the 50% of their collection budget. So, I think there are ways that we would like to, sort of unravel that and undo that and be able to reallocate that money or reprioritize. That's a good way. It's like we
Yeah.
sometimes we have the resources, we just need to like reprioritize them to sort of do different things. And I'm not
Right.
calling it like a massive upheaval of our collection. I'm just saying there are things that academic libraries are doing with that money in terms of like supporting student success initiatives and like textbook affordability and like playing different roles on campus as suppliers of materials sort of outside of the traditional sort of buyer or like conduit to electronic journals.
Yes. It reminds me also of like the recent move towards like open educational resources. And I think that that's something that a particular trait of libraries and librarians that like we're really good at is, sort of like democratizing information, and how do we get the information, sort of like freely into the hands of our users, and break down those barriers as much as we can to information. So it's really great to see those initiatives. Yeah.
Right.
And I know you have experience with a lot of those initiatives too, so that's cool.
Yeah, it is. We tried to, the last institution I was at, we tried to play a big role in faculty selection of materials that they're using in the classroom. So like required materials. I mean, it could be textbook, it could be whatever you're requiring, video. Most often we're talking about like textbooks or required like, print, physical book materials. And so we did a big, the library I was at played a big role in either working with faculty in advance of curriculum selection to either choose an OER or look through the library's platform of already licensed ebooks to see what they might be able to use in their classroom, and that then is free content for their students. They don't have to purchase anything, or to see what the library could buy with their acquisitions budget to allow for this, equitable free access to materials. So yeah, so that was exciting to do that. And I think that's I think that's an opportunity that, every library has. So not just the library I was at, but I think every library is trying to rethink the way they use their collections budget and how to prioritize it. And
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. And I think like libraries, like we are so good at doing that. We're so good at like rethinking and reallocating because I mean, just take a look at the history of libraries in general and how they have changed and how information seeking behaviors have changed and how information itself has changed. And like we are still such important like institutions and society. So I mean, we have a proven track record of reallocating and changing and shifting. And so, it might seem scarier to people outside of libraries, but I know it's like we are like experts at doing that.
I don't know. I don't want to disagree with you, Courtney, but we are and we aren't, because like
Okay, tell me. I
we've
love it.
we've been in this like serials crisis where like libraries have been like, the mass majority of their budget has been dedicated to serials, the cost of electronic journals. At one point it was print serials, now it's electronic journals. We've been talking about this crisis since like the 1990s. And so, and we've really found no solution to it. And, there are more solutions now, whereas open
Yeah.
access is becoming something bigger and something that can play a part in reducing the need for subscriptions from academic libraries. And there are alternate access models that existed now that didn't exist then, such as like interlibrary loan and how good that can be in fulfilling like requests or the needs of your campus. But like we still really haven't changed much in terms of like, how dedicated we are to supporting like electronic journals or the need of electronic journals within our collection budget. So,
Yeah.
but it's gonna
I,
break at some point, right?
I think, yeah, I can see what you're getting at. And I feel like it's probably a symptom of academia and how slowly the wheels can sometimes move
Yeah.
in
All right.
academia.
You look, and that's the thing. If you look at like our, faculty scholarly output, not to say all of it, and it varies from like department and discipline to discipline, but a vast majority of it is going to journal publications, right? So articles created for journals. And so, I think that's a symptom of that too, is academic libraries supporting these platforms where their faculty academic scholarship is going into, right? And so,
Yeah, it's very complex. And I have a lot of confidence and a lot of faith in like our profession as a whole to figure this out. And like you said, it's very complex and it is perhaps moving slower than what we'd like. But it's good. Recently, like you mentioned, some of the initiatives that have popped up where it's like, okay, maybe we have finally, hopefully broken through a little bit of that stagnation. But yeah, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that it continues to, we continue to sort of get motivation from those initiatives. So I have two final questions for you.
okay.
Will we see you unicycling around campus?
I don't know, probably not. I feel like it's a very personal thing. I keep it to my neighborhood largely. And then it's hard to find space to practice. And so
Yeah.
I go practice at like tennis courts.
Oh, okay.
And it's nice over the winter because normally they take the nets down at tennis
Oh,
courts. And so then you have all of this asphalt space to just sort of wheel around in. And so that's nice. And then you got a fence there if you ever need to like prop yourself up and hang on to something. So,
okay.
so
That's a
probably
good
not. No.
Nice, nice. And a question, sort of a silly question that I've just been ending all of my chats with. What is your favorite candy?
Oh, funny. Well, let's see. Huh. That's a good question.
It's like candy's
Probably,
the great equalizer, right? Like everybody's got something that they can talk about.
yeah, I'm gonna go like I'm gonna go like a preference and then a more recent one. So I'm gonna give you two answers.
Okay.
So probably Sour Patch Kids. I love the sugar. I feel like that's a go-to when you like watching a movie or something. But then more recently, we've been eating these, and I never had them until I got them downtown at, I think it's like Moose. It's like the candy shop in Louisville, and they're called, I'm gonna get the name wrong. They're called like Modescas, but they're marshmallows covered in caramel.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh my God, they're amazing.
wow. Okay.
Yeah, you can get them down at this. I mean, I'm sure more than just that candy shop makes them, but apparently someone told me they're like a Louisville specific candy.
Oh,
I don't,
cool.
I don't know if that's just like Louisville, if that's misinformation about Louisville or if that's true or not. It's like everyone's the first to create the hamburger, right? So I don't know if it's true or not, but yeah, but they're awesome. They're basically just like a caramel covered marshmallows. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Cool. I like it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for taking the time to chat with me today, and welcome to IU Southeast. Welcome to the library. We're happy to have you. And yeah, thanks again.
All right, thanks, Courtney. Bye.